In today's video, we're going to talk about how to treat peripheral neuropathy at home. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from AttaboyCowboy, and on this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. And today I want to talk a little bit about peripheral neuropathy, because it's a very common problem in the United States with about 20 million people a year being affected. As I mentioned in the other video where I talk about supplements and eating habits for people with peripheral neuropathy, the rates are exploding worldwide due to the increase in diabetes. Due to the fact that most of the food that people are eating now is processed, it's causing an increase in diabetes and other metabolic disorders. In conjunction with metabolic disorders, one of the most common issues you see, as we mentioned, was diabetic or peripheral neuropathy, where it affects your fingers and your feet. So I'm going to go over a little bit about how it works and the treatment plan that I use. I looked at a lot of videos on YouTube. There's some really good ideas, but I didn't see any that use some of the strategies that I use with my patients and that I've had some good success with. So I wanted to share this. First off, when you have peripheral neuropathy, again, it's like this wire here. There's a piece of Romex. Here's the insulation. Here's the copper wire in the middle. So in order to get the signal from your brain to the tips of your fingers, so you can do this, snap your fingers, do whatever movement, you have to send signals. And your arm, your legs, all your extremities, you're going to be full of multiple nerves. So you need to have insulation between them. If you don't have insulation, the current's going to jump, kind of like this. You see all the different wires that are packed into this Romex. If there wasn't insulation, they would jump, or you'd have an arc flash. And basically you'd have a fire, or it would short out your system. So insulation is vital for electricity to work in your house. Now your body works almost the same way. Remember, all your movements are due to electricity. Your body uses electricity. So your neurons have something called myelin sheath. It's like this insulation around them. When you have peripheral neuropathy, the myelin sheath, or the insulation of the neurons, of the nerves, have been destroyed by the metabolic disorder that you might have, like diabetes. So it removes this sheathing and it allows the signal to jump from copper wire to copper wire, or in the case of peripheral neuropathy, from nerve to nerve. What that does is it causes gait disorders, balance disorders. You have like feelings of ants on your skin. It feels like you have knives. I've heard all sorts of different things from patients. You get cramps, and then you get a lot of weakness. And I'm gonna go through here and explain to you exactly how it works here. So that's the basis of it. You want to make sure that you have conductivity, and you want to try to increase it. First thing you want to do is diet. And I have another diet video you can check out. You want to make sure you're eating an anti-inflammatory diet and a low glycemic diet. And if you want like a model, look at the TB12 method, the Tom Brady method. He basically eats a diabetic diet, low inflammatory diet. You want to prevent your glucose levels to getting high so that free radical damage is not damaging your nerves. Remember, no one dies from diabetes. You die from the consequences of diabetes. Diabetes causes massive free radical damage throughout your body. It damages your heart, your kidneys, your veins, everything else, which lead to strokes, heart attacks, kidney failure, other things like that that cause people to die from diabetes. But diabetes in itself does not. It just kind of wears everything down. Kind of like if you left a metal outside, a piece of iron, and it got rusted. That rusting is oxidation. So diabetes is speeding up the process of oxidation in your body. And in the case of neuropathy, it's damaging the myelin sheaths on your nerves. So how are we going to regenerate that? Well, good thing is that central nerves do not regenerate. So if you damage your brain or your spinal cord, it's very little regeneration. Although you do have some, it's much more difficult. But peripheral nerves in your extremities do regenerate much easier. And what you need to do is you need to stimulate them. So if I wanted to get a big, strong bicep, and I want to have muscles big so I can go to the beach this summer, I'm going to start pumping iron, and my muscles are going to get bigger. But with nerves, it's not the same. So someone might look at this patient and you might say, wow, they need to work out, they need to do some exercise. They do, but that's not the problem. This is a neurological problem, so you need to treat it differently. That's the difference. A lot of times patients will tell me, well, I'm going to work out, I'm going to ride the bike, I'm going to do this, and all those things are great. You need to do that to increase your strength, increase your mobility and your flexibility. So it's definitely part of it. But you also have to address the neurological aspect. And how are we going to do that? We're going to work it out. Just like you work your muscles, the way you work nerves is you stimulate them. You're going to send signals through them. Some of the ways you can do that, you can use a TENS machine. Predominantly what you want to focus on, let me show you this real quick. Oftentimes when people have neuropathy, they have problems with dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. So this is plantar flexion, push down. See, there's not that much strength here in the ankle. And then there's dorsiflexion, the flipping up. See that? So, a ver si puedes ir así.
Okay.
See, there's not a lot of movement, not a lot of strength, because the neuropathy, basically the signal's going from the brain, and I know it works because he's able to move his toes. See, wiggle your toes for me? There's movement in the toes. It's just that as the signal travels, it's getting lost. There isn't that insulation, so that there's a nice strong signal to get down here. That's what's causing this loss of movement. So you can see, if you can't plantar flex, push your toes down, or dorsiflex, pull them up, that's going to be hard to walk because you need to roll off your heels to walk. So we need to build that up. So some of the things that I like to do is I like to use sensory integration, which is another technique that I've learned over the years. And basically, we need to stimulate these nerves so that it can rebuild that myelin sheath from here where it terminates up to the brain. So again, the phone lines are intact because he's able to move his toes. It's just the signal is not getting here, and it's getting lost. So I like to use metal brushes for one. I like to use a brushing technique. And again, if I were to ask you, what do your underwear feel like? You probably couldn't tell me. But in the morning, when you put them on, you definitely can feel your underwear, right? You feel them for like 30 seconds, a minute, and then your body, your brain kind of blocks it out. So that's how sensory stimulation is. Right now, you can hear me, and you're probably blocking out like your kids yelling in the background or other types of noise like that you hear. And you're able to kind of focus in on the sounds, the sights, whatever else you need that your brain needs at that time. Kind of like if you're reading a book. Your brain focuses on one word, not the whole book at one time. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to read it. So what happens is your body gets desensitized. So if I just keep doing this for an hour, it's not going to work. It'll just become like background noise, or it'll become kind of like your underwear right now. Your brain will just not really pay attention to it anymore because it's not anything novel or new. So you're gonna brush the whole foot and the legs and the calves. And a lot of times patients that have peripheral neuropathy have problems with their anterior tibialis, which is this muscle right here, right next to the bone here in front. So we're gonna stimulate all that. And then after we're done with this, I'm gonna put this down, and you can't really see it here, but right in front of me, I have two buckets. I have one bucket full of hot water, and then I have another one here full of cold water. Go ahead, you can put your feet in. No, put it right here in the hot. This one has ice water. And what we're doing is we're stimulating, again, those nerves so they can rebuild that myelin sheath. Now, a lot of it also has to do with nutrition. That's why I made the nutrition video. Zinc, like you find in oysters, you can take a zinc supplement. You can eat a lot of nuts, like Brazil nuts and walnuts. Omega-3 fatty acids, very important to rebuilding. Found predominantly in fish, but I don't recommend fish because they have a lot of heavy metals, which will cause other problems. So ground fresh flaxseed and chia seed are the best. And walnuts, those are good sources of omega-3 fatty acids. Make sure you're eating healthy fats in your diet, cooking with coconut oil, and using olive oil in your salads and your snacks and stuff like that. So you're eating fats. Remember, muscle uses protein, brain and nerve tissue uses fat to rebuild. So you need healthy fats, not fried food, not cheese, not, high fat yogurt. No, none of that stuff. Just the stuff I mentioned. That's the good fat that you actually need to rebuild that. B vitamins. I would just take a B complex every day. That's the easiest, like B1, B12. Those are really important for proper neurological function. That's also why I like nuts, because nuts have all sorts of different minerals in them, but they also have the healthy fats. So I would try those as well. And then what I'm doing is I'm gonna just keep alternating. As we're doing this hot, cold bath, I'm gonna pull in with this brush. And then I'm also, if I have it, I use vibration. You can use rollers, you can use all sorts of different stuff, and just keep adding to your repertoire, just mixing up the sensory stimuli. You don't want to do any one of them more than like maybe 5-10 seconds. That's enough. Of course, the brushing, I'm going to do each spot like I'm painting a wall. I want to make sure I cover the entire thing, the entire lower extremity here. I'm going to do the toes. And then I want to talk a little bit about tone. Tone is interesting because tone, I've been hearing about this since I was a kid, and I always get questions about tone for patients. They say, hey doc, I want to get toned for the summer, right? You want to get big muscles, you want to get a six pack. Tone is actually not something you can change. You're born with your tone. And another example is there's right by my house, there's a freeway off ramp and there's a homeless guy there that I always see. And I always check him out because he is ripped. He's homeless and he just has like the craziest abs, pecs, everything. Like I look at him, I'm jealous. I say, wow, I wish I had a body like this guy. And this guy's like in his 50s, he's older than me. That's because he has natural tone. His tone is that way. So what is tone? Tone is kind of like, let's say when you're sitting up, or let's say you're just sitting here, like he is right now. There's always tone going through your body. Tone is kind of like your outlets in your house. There's always current running through them. You're not always using the electricity, but it's there. So if you plug something in, it just works, right? So tone is kind of the same way as electricity. There's always a low level of current running through your entire body. And basically the purpose is to kind of keep your muscles ready to go whenever you need them to move, right? So tone is kind of like what keeps you in a semi-pumped state. That's why when you see those people that are ripped and they never work out, that's because they have good tone, because their body has more electrical current basically running through their wires, and it's keeping them kind of in a pumped state all the time. So even if you go to the gym and you work out for as many hours as you want, you cannot change your tone. It's neurologically impossible. Now you can get your muscles bigger and you can get more definition by burning the fat. Yeah, you'll see the muscles, but you're actually not going to change your tone. I work out a lot. I used to run marathons and stuff, but I never was able to get a body as good as this guy that I tell you lives by my house in the street. He just has, his genes are just different than me. So with that in mind, I want to show you something. You look here at this foot, and this is common with peripheral neuropathy. You'll see like the foot maybe gain a size, a half a size or more. The foot looks bigger. It looks a little bit swollen. That's because you don't have that same tone, because the nerves are not sending that constant signal to the muscles to kind of be in a semi-contracted state. So as they're not contracted, they start relaxing and you start getting more fluid buildup. So you'll see here there's a little bit of edema, which is like swelling. So you got to be conscious of that. Sometimes with patients that have peripheral neuropathy, not in this case, but you might want to use pressure garments like those socks that are tight. That basically helps with circulation and to keep fluid from pooling in your limbs. But the other thing is that because of this swelling, this edema, you want to make sure you compensate. Don't wear the same shoes you normally wear. They might be too tight. Don't be afraid to go up a half a size or higher, because otherwise if you have diabetes, you're gonna put yourself at risk for getting ulcers, and that's gonna cause other problems. That leads to amputations and stuff. So you wanna make sure that you're conscientious of that. So basically for peripheral neuropathy, we wanna do sensory stimulation, brushing, hot, cold contrast. We can do the TENS machine. And then I'm gonna put some exercises in the Dropbox. You can check out some of the exercises there. And if you have an ankle foot orthosis, an AFO, one of these, you definitely wanna use it. And let me explain why these are good, because these help with muscle memory. Basically, when you're having an issue with peripheral neuropathy, not only are you having neurological issues with the signals getting through, the muscles aren't quite working like they used to. So your movement patterns are changing. And you want to try to normalize your movement patterns. Otherwise, you're going to start having other problems. You're going to start swinging your foot out when you walk. You're going to start getting hip pain, back pain, stuff like that. You don't want that. So this kind of keeps you in a neutral position. And as you walk, see how it has that sling? It kind of gives you some help because there's a lot of weakness in the dorsi and plantar flexion in the ankles. So that's why these are excellent. Now, a lot of patients don't like these. They don't like the way they look. They feel like they're going to become dependent on them. That's not that's not exactly true. They're very helpful. And sometimes patients, if they work out long enough or the symptoms aren't too severe, they can actually build up their strength and not have to use these anymore. Now, when you use these, don't try to use your regular shoes because it's not going to fit well. It's going to be too tight. I recommend going up at least one size. If you need to, if you have more swelling, you could go up a size and a half. And in some cases, I say in most cases, I prefer low top shoes like this. And I'll tell you why. If you use a high top, intuitively, you want to use a high top. It's going to give you too much support. So it's going to do more of the work for you. When you use a low top shoe, it's going to force your ankle to work, and that's exactly what you want. So that's going to be very helpful to you. So let me show you now some of the exercises we do. Okay, so one more technique I want to share with you in terms of sensory stimulation and muscle building. I really like these vibration plates. They sell these on the internet and they're really great because look at the sensory stimulation that's going on here. Again, when you have neuropathy, you definitely want to work on muscle building, but you want to work on the neurological aspect. And this is a lot of sensory stimulation. And again, as we mentioned, you don't want your brain to kind of block it out like your underwear in the morning. So you want to do a few minutes for exercise, but then you also want to do a process where you're maybe doing the vibration plate, only the tips of your toes. That's all we're doing here. The rest of the foot is hanging off the plate. And while you're doing it, you can do toe raises, and then every like 10 seconds, pull off the vibration plate, and on the floor, just do toe raises on the floor, and then put your feet back up, do them on there, and just alternate like every 10, 15 seconds, up to 30 seconds, so that your brain doesn't start blocking it out. And I really like this because this provides a lot of stability. If you think about like all this vibration that's happening, it's causing co-contraction. Basically, all muscles have like a partner. They work together, the yin and the yang, right? So this is causing a lot of co-contraction. So it's good for mobility, muscle training, muscle memory. There's a lot of benefits to it. And I just like the fact that it's causing this co-contraction. It's kind of teaching the muscles to work together to stabilize. Otherwise, your feet, your knees, your legs would fall out of alignment and you fall off the vibration plate. So even though it looks very subtle, it's actually really good because you have to focus to keep your feet on the vibration plate, especially since it's only the tips of your toes. So I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, please comment below. I'm happy to help out. And from Los Angeles, California, this is Dr. Ernesto Martinez. Thank you very much. Goodbye.